Hey, I'm Justin, and I have the $100 paddle.
I'm Luca, and I've got the $200 paddle. And we're from Rackets and Runners. So today we're answering a question for those of you who are kind of new to pickleball and kind of want to know what's the difference between a couple different price points. We've got a $100 paddle here and a $200 paddle here. Obviously $100 isn't cheap. It's a lot of money to spend on your first paddle, but to be honest, compared to something you're gonna get at a big box store for like $20, $30, it's a really, really big improvement. It's a bigger improvement from a $20 paddle to a $100 paddle than it is from 100 to a 200. This will feel like a pickleball paddle should. It's gonna have good touch, it's gonna have kind of good maneuverability, a weight that's somewhere within the pickleball spectrum, and it's just going to complement your development as a pickleball player a lot better than something with very, very little technology that you could get for a much cheaper price. But if you want to start taking the game a little bit more seriously, I honestly think a $100 paddle is a really big upgrade.
$100 to $200, what would be the big difference there?
You know, you've played a lot of pickleball, you've played with your $100 paddle quite a bit. Why are you going to go take the jump to $200? So the biggest difference is going to be technology, but also a personalization of feel. The $100 paddles, they're gonna have a honeycomb core, but they're gonna feel very kind of standard. They'll all feel similar to each other. Good, they'll feel like pickleball paddles should, but they won't kind of personalize the feel that you can get with something more top end. So, for example, with this Selkirk amped Invicta that comes in at $195, you're gonna get a thicker core, so you'll get a little bit more touch and feel. You're also gonna get a fiberglass top layer that'll give you a little bit more sharpness and crispness than you might get with some of the more standard materials you get on the $100 paddles. So with this paddle, someone who's looking for that nice controlled touch-based response off the paddle bed, they'll be able to find that with something like the amped Invicta. If you want a little bit more powerful of a response, a little bit more instant of a response, a little bit more spinny of a response, there are $200 paddles that would kind of complement that response. So once you really know what your game, what you want from your game, that's where you're taking the step into more personalized paddles and into kind of more exotic, better materials that complement or negate weaknesses, I guess you could say.
All right, and so if I'm not necessarily ready to make the jump, is there a way for me to try these out?
So the most important thing you can possibly do with pickleball is demo. I can't count the number of times, especially ex-tennis players or current tennis players, have come in and said, so tell me the truth, they're all the same, right? And being a tennis player myself, before I played pickleball, I thought the same thing, right? I was like, yeah, there can't be that big of a difference. I couldn't have been more wrong. Pickleball paddles are extremely different, especially when you get into the top end. You look at the thickness, the shape, just the feel changes so much. And that's where I really think it is crucial to demo paddles to find what complements your game the best. We have a really good program at Rackets and Runners. You can take 2 paddles out. My suggestion would be, if you're taking that foray into the more expensive stuff, take 2 things on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Take a really thin paddle and a really thick paddle like the one I'm holding. Take a long paddle, a short paddle, and then start narrowing down your search. They all feel extremely different. If you don't have the opportunity to demo, what I'll say is do your research. I don't always say that to everybody because sometimes you can get a little bit lost in your research, but it's extremely important to kind of find the right paddle for yourself. Your game's gonna evolve along with the paddle that you end up picking. So it's a pretty important step, especially buying your first expensive paddle. So yeah, biggest suggestion is to demo.
And tell me a little bit about the demo program. You take 2 paddles out?
Yeah, two paddles out for 3 days at Rackets and Runners. Cost $2 a paddle. We're just putting new overgrips right now for cleanliness reasons. We've got a plethora of paddles on our wall, so come check them out. Or buy them online at racketsandrunners.ca.